Michael Angelo was deployed in reporting lines at the constituency to see Michael Kwabenya. So now tell me what happened.
Yeah, so apologies, because I have a lot of notes, I'm going to be referring from them.
Yeah, that's fine.
So as at around 7 a.m., we got to the grounds. The voting was slated to have started at 7, but as at 7 hadn't started. About 10 minutes later, voting was kicked into full swing. A rush through. We did note that Sheila Sechi was already present, the first candidate to be present. The rest of them were not there. Then around 8:30, Adwoa Safo arrived. Everybody noticed. Once Adwoa Safo arrived, everybody noticed. And then around 10:30, fast forwarding, Michael Kwabenya Jr. also arrived. And then we noticed that as at 2 p.m., when elections were supposed to end, people were still in the queue because there were just a lot of them. Obviously, Dome Kwabenya is a very, very huge constituency. I think over 144,000 registered voters. So it's understandable that that would happen. And then by the time that voting had ended, the party chairman, Stephen, and team was in attendance at Dome Kwabenya at the polling center.
Why was the party chairman there? Is that his constituency? Does he live there? Did he vote there?
It was interesting. I mean, when he arrived, it was... I don't want to make it look as though a certain sort of arrangement had been done, but the moment Stephen and team arrived, he went through the group and then there was cheering and whatnot. Then a moment later, Michael Kwabenya Jr. also walked through the group and then cheering. This was well before the declaration had been done, but there was like celebration. People were saying, chanting things like, no mistake, we are changing, 13-3, here's the 7 and whatnot. So it was, I don't know why, but the moment Stephen and team arrived, then the cheering for Michael Kwabenya Jr. began. I don't know the connection between the two, but that's what happened. Then as at 3:50, the celebrations began for Michael Kwabenya. This was 3:50 p.m. Well,
that's 10 minutes to 4.
Yes, again, the declaration hadn't been done officially, but people had been celebrating because I suppose people were monitoring the counting process, and so they were being intuitive about it. Now, getting down to the issues, we managed to secure a few interviews with Michael Kwabenya Jr. Interestingly, Miss Sheila Sechi did not grant interviews. I graciously reached out to her. Unfortunately, perhaps she did not want to speak. Adwoa Safo did indicate that she would grant interviews later, but perhaps because of the way the elections went, she decided not to. But Michael Kwabenya Jr. was very, very gracious, and it is from the interactions we had with him that this story we have unfolds. So it's on basically 5 thematic fronts. This was firstly prior to the outcome of the elections. I engaged him and then I asked him, why is it that himself, Michael Kwabenya Jr. should be the person representing Dome Kwabenya? It's an NPP constituency, so really, whomever they field would probably defeat the NDC. And then he had a very interesting perspective. His view was that, well, you know that...
if we have the interview, can we see it?
Yeah.
And then you can tell us.
So,
okay, so let's...
Can you run that?
Yeah. Okay, so let's...
If I win the parliamentary candidacy, I am not going against Sarah Adwoa Safo. Remember that Dome Kwabenya was established in 2004. And since then, it's always been an NPP seat, even before the current MP was voted for. So it will always be an NPP seat, whether she's there or not. The question is, would it rather be a difficulty if we were to repeat her? And I think that the information on the ground that you, the media, would have gathered would answer that for you. Because we saw all the actions of the market women. If you go around the whole city, everybody is upset, even to hear of the contest. So we'll see what happens, but we can't be presumptuous. But I'm sure you know the way forward when it doesn't go my way. In 2020, when it didn't go my way, I showed unity. I showed that I care about the party. I was the one who brought T-shirts with my opponent's face. I gave money to the chairman. I did 14 rallies in this constituency. I did even campaign, a lot of people say, more than the MP who even won the seat, because it was about NPP. I paid my dues with the party, and I hope that this is the time I'll get the opportunity to lead the NPP in Dome Kwabenya.
That's interesting. He was losing his voice at that time already.
Yeah, if he was, going around, he was, before, as I said, before the declaration had been done, he was already cheering, saying here's the same, walking around, having a lot of support, as opposed to perhaps, without prejudice, to Adwoa Safo or Sheila Sechi. Much greater support.
So for you, the reporters there, it seemed obvious from the outcome of the responses of the delegates in the crowd that Okwe was ahead.
It did seem, but the very famous narrative, fear delegates. We'll get to that at a later time. But it did seem the case that yes, he was receiving support, and he was also returning that same energy. There was this interesting moment where, and we didn't get that on camera, where he expressed support for one of the delegates because he said, "Why are you sitting in the sun?" Oh, okay, so you can watch that on the screen right there.
Okay.
But this is not exactly, this is just an overlay.
Okay, but this Michael Kwabenya still talking
Yes,
here.
yes.
Well, this is the point. This is the point I was asking you. So the chairs from the, so these are delegates?
Yeah, this
at
are
the
the
voting
delegates
center.
at the polling center. This is them. He went, this is when he arrived, and then he did something very gracious after this.
Oh, this is where you say that
you're changing, we're changing. And then after this, he did something very gracious, because prior to his arrival, the candidates had not granted the reporters interviews. So after this, you can see him moving. They went into a spot, they sat down, and then they gave the reporters ample time to ask them questions.
Okay. What else then? What else then did you talk to him about?
So then we moved deeper into the issue of, well, this is your first time being a candidate. It's not even an MP, a candidate for MP. Why should you be the person where we know that experienced members of parliament are saying they will not run again for the position of member of parliament? Why don't we perhaps keep somebody who has experience so that parliament will retain that? And his view was, well, there are people...
Let's hear him. Let's hear him.
Okay, sure.
Let's hear that interview as well, please.
Well, I'm sure one thing about being in parliament is very relative, because there are some people who go into parliament for the first time but are very experienced. And I believe that I'll bring a lot of experience from all the things I've done before to bear in parliament. So I know that some are leaving, but the rest of us will come and enrich the place.
The experience that he can manage it.
Yeah, he can. He says that, well, there are some people who have been members of parliament for a long time. It doesn't mean that if you've not been a member of parliament before, you don't have something valuable, because he has experience within his career space. He has common sense as a human being. He's rational. So he does bring a lot to the table. That was his view. Very interesting. We moved on to a deeper issue now of, this was after the declaration now. Well, unofficial declaration that he had won. They poured powder on him and all of that. And he was asked, did he expect to win with such a great margin, or did he think it would be just narrow? Because, you know, for many election cycles, Adwoa Safo has beaten him, just recently by a very slim margin of, I think, about 8 votes. So did he think that the margin would be great, or do you think that he would just manage to edge her over? So let's hear what he had to say about that.
Well, I wanted to be very conservative and expect more than 1,000, because then that would make a statement. But I never thought I'll be close to 1,200 by 6 votes. But nevertheless, the delegates have spoken. Now we'll have to sit down, reconcile, continue the unity that has always been in Dome Kwabenya after elections, and then move on to the next level for the general elections. You know, as I said, I was operating on a submarine campaign. I didn't want to make too much noise outside. In fact, I tried to avoid as many media interviews as possible, just because I wanted the delegates to know that it's about them. It's about how I sell and present myself to them. And if I'm able to do that properly, then they would also be able to believe in me and take me out to sell me to the outer constituents as well. So that is what I focused on.
Very interesting, as you can see. He said that his campaign was not loud.
It sounds very well prepared for this. If you will listen to him, he sounds very, very well prepared for this.
Yes, and I mean, the victory should not surprise you, but at the same time, you wonder, well, Adwoa Safo looked very popular. So it's
when she
all
appeared
the
this
more,
morning.
Well, it's a mix of things. You see, she wasn't received the way Michael Kwabenya Jr. was received, but she was received fairly well. The people that were hugging her, maybe that's why they say fair delegates, because people were hugging her, she was talking to them on all of that, and they came out and she had about 328 votes. So she was received fairly well.
328?
Yes, I believe about 328 votes, yes. And well, that's how it turned out for her. But then, still on the topic of Adwoa Safo, another issue we went into with Michael Kwabenya Jr. was on the, this was of course after he had won. We asked him, why did he think Adwoa Safo had won? Was it because of the incumbency deficit that people were just tired of her? They were fatigued. They wanted a new face. Maybe they said, oh, let's have a man this time, or something. So I asked him his view, and he had something interesting to say.
Let's hear that.
Well, I mean, she's already broken the 8. She's down a 12th term. After 12 years, by a 3rd term, she was now going to 16. So it would need some ultra performance to be able to sustain that sort of level of support. So I guess, I mean, she's been around for 12 years. She's done her part. As they say, in all things, give thanks. So whatever her performance was is not an issue. We give thanks for her service. We are now moving forward, hopefully with a new candidate for 2024 to be the Member of Parliament for Dome Kwabenya. When I lost to her, I brought myself on board. So I'll bring her on board as well, and bring also Madam Sheila as well. It is in my nature to work and do things pertaining to the elephant, not just about myself. So for sure, we'll do that.
Wow. Very interesting. What was the last point?
So lastly also, this famous narrative, as we mentioned earlier, of fear delegates, as made famous by Sir John. And someone was almost prophetic. A delegate was almost prophetic. She believed that you shouldn't fear delegates. You should trust them, because you've communicated your perspectives to them. So you should just relax. It's a very, very short response.
So fear delegates is when they will take your money knowing that they won't vote for you. That's the fear delegates point.
She had a different view. She said that, well, things are changing. Trust them.
And they will vote for you.
Trust them.
But why don't delegates tell you that, Chief, we are not going to vote for you?
Maybe they don't want to hurt your feelings. Or
but they want to take your money. Let's see what she said.
Let's have that.
I trust that there is nothing like fear delegates. It's only trust delegates, because we believe and trust that delegates of Dome Kwabenya actually know that the change is coming. Can't you see the weather? The weather has changed. The weather even agrees and accepts that change is coming, and that change is Michael Quay Jr.
Okay, so how will you wrap up your experience today? You must be tired.
It was extreme. You see, there was one last video because we ran out of time. Basically, while the unofficial declaration had been done, Michael Quay Jr.'s bodyguards tensed him, and then they were cheering, they poured powder on him, and it was so crazy. They used a Sakura pitch, if I can say, a bare football field.
We'll have to see that video at the end. Yeah, you finish your narrative. We'll
see. So as they were going, because it's a Sakura pitch, quote unquote.
What's a Sakura? No grass?
A football pitch with no grass.
Okay.
And the dust was all over the place. There was dust everywhere, and because of the Hamatan season, this was a very, very wild experience.
Oh, that was your worst experience?
I would say it's my worst. No, I would say that this is not it, but I would say that this is when, right before things got very, very intense. Every election coverage is different, extreme in its own way. This was where people were pushing and shoving. Of course, it wasn't really violence. The police did a very good job, but it was extreme.
So this is when he had won?
This was when he had won.
He
went and then he
mounted his vehicle and he had a prayerful hand.
Yes.
Michael Quay Jr. has done very, very well. I hope that he will enter Ghanaian Parliament with a big deal. He will be able to surpass his father's record. And his father's record is a great record, a record of 2-term MP, 2-term minister, 1-term speaker. I'm really praying that he will give Presec, our school, a great name in Parliament on that day. Thank you, Michael. That was excellent coverage. Excellent.
Thank you
we
very
owe
much.
You 10 cities.
I'll take that gladly.
That was Michael Angelo.